until I see you guys start switching over. But yeah, I have the other live, so get off of this one and go into my other on the other live, and that one's on my iPhone. Wow, two people on lights. Okay, you got Tim K. We good? You hear me? So I'm gonna take off the selfie. Okay, hold on. Okay, you guys are on the new laptop, guys. Sorry about that. Again, I'm not the techie person. Okay, so I ended the other live. Hi guys. Okay, good. Now that's just the microphone off the iPhone. Can you guys hear me? Or do you guys want me to connect? I can I can connect this microphone and see if I can get better sound. Yes, this is the new live. This is the new live, so we don't have that problem. Can you guys hear me all right though? Okay, so hold on, guys. Give me a second. How about now? Do I sound a lot? Do I sound better? Now I'm using the mic. Yes, we hear you. Okay, everyone. Everyone hears me. Yeah, we can hear you. My sound. Do I sound? Okay, give me a second here. How about now? You barely hear me? Let me. Okay, you guys barely hear me? Can you guys hear me now? Okay, is it good? Okay, well, again, guys, let's, okay, let's do the little cheat. Well, it's not a cheap mic, but let's do that mic then. Let's see. Let me, yeah. Better, guys? Okay. Now it's good? I got somebody else saying go back to the other one. Okay, it's good? Okay, okay, never mind. He says it's good. Okay, okay, guys. See? That little mic works better. Let me just try to put it right next to me, though, okay? And I'll put it closer to myself, and I'll kind of adjust it a little bit more towards me. So, guys, you guys, oh shit, 24 people. Shit, we got more people on this one than the other live. So I was talking about Mundo, how if you guys go and pay attention, this individual always tells the story that he's always in the adjustment center and he's always such a bad dude that he's always in solitary confinement, specifically in San Quentin. Yet, when it comes to Black August, he just so happens to be on a lower level yard, right, with the lower custody inmates at a pivotal moment in San Quentin history. But yet, every other time, 99% of the time when he tells his stories, he's such a badass that he's in solitary confinement in the adjustment center, right? But all of a sudden now, Black August, he was not in the adjustment center. He was on the lower custody yard. So I just want to point that out. So not only is Mundo kind of acting like a Wes Watson when he tells his stories, but he's also, there's no margin of error, okay? There's no excuse for him. If what I'm about to say, there's no excuse for him intentionally lying. Straight up 100% intentionally lying to you guys. He has no intention of telling his viewers, any of the individuals who read his comic book paperweight bestsellers, right? The truth. He does not tell you the truth. What does he tell you? That Black August was the first time in history when the so-called MA and the BGF joined forces, right? To do the havoc that they did at San Quentin that day, which was I believe, was it killed 2 guards or 3 guards and 2 inmates, something like that. I think 5 people, right? 3 guards, 2 inmates. He claims. Hey, Broken Bobby, what's up? Now, I just want to point out that Black August happened August 21st, 1971. So now let's fast forward because remember, Mundo says this was a Mexican mafia and BGF uh, alliance, right? A rare collaboration between the two groups. Now let's fast forward to 1973. For the first time in history, before U.S. Congress subcommittee, Sergeant William Hankins testified for the first time in history, right? Providing the first known ever documentation on the 4 major prison organizations. So, not only is William Hankins considered the OG IGI, right? He is legendary and famous amongst prison IGI and high ranking prison staff. He is well known and respected. Mundo, as a matter of fact, has collaborated with William Hankins on several projects. Now, according to William Hankins' testimony, and again, all this is going to be posted on my community after I do this live. Not Mundo Mendoza. William Hankins testified that George Jackson was a member of the Black Panthers, the prison Black Panthers, which was formed, he believes, somewhere between 19, I believe he said 68, 69, right? So George Jackson, under oath, claims that he was a Black Panther and not a member of the BGF. When he was asked specifically about the origins of the BGF, he testified under oath that it was started by one James Harold Doc Holliday somewhere between late 1971 to early 1972, I believe, in Soledad Prison. So let's just think about that. Under oath, for first time in history that anyone has ever provided any documentation under oath regarding the 4 prison groups, and the first time anyone ever heard information about the BGF was that it was formed in late 1971 to early 1972 in Soledad by James Harold Doc Holliday. So even such a high distinguished and respected individual as William Hankins, basically with his sworn testimony, is exposing Mundo as a liar. Because what's Mundo say? That it was the BGF and the MF that were working hand in hand during Black August, which they weren't even in existence yet. They didn't become in existence till late 1971 to early 72. And that is corroborated by James Harold Doc Holliday himself. Again, I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said under oath by a specific law enforcement or prison authority or specific individuals mentioned. James Harold Doc Holliday has testified in 1984 during a case that he had, a federal case. He testified that he formed the BGF in late 1971 to 1972 in Soledad Prison. So George Jackson, Hugo Yogi Padel, and all the individuals that were in there were not members of the BGF. They were members of either 2 organizations, the Black Panthers or what's called Black Family. Okay? If you guys go on to Gangsters, Cops, and Politicians and look at his BGF, he confirms this. About 1966, 67, black inmates formed a group called Black Family. Now, this group was the group that I don't know if George Jackson belonged to it, but he did help the individuals who started. I mean, he supported them. Those were his homies. But it's never really been confirmed if he was a member of Black Family. Black Family was a group that existed till about the early 1970s. I apologize, my dogs are barking. I live in the ghetto and I got an alley and I got 2 dogs. But anyways, these individuals were not members of the were not members of the BGF. These members were either members of what's called Black Family or the Black Panther Party, which the the official Black Panther Party, I believe in early 1971, or don't quote me, or maybe 1970. Again, this will be in the community post. Actually, did an article and posted in there as their front cover that in fact they had just started a Black Panther chapter inside of San Quentin, that which was created by and led by George Jackson. So again, that how can this guy get this wrong? He was a functioning, active Chicano convict in 1971, Mundo claims, right? Boxer, Megan's Law, mafioso is irrelevant in this. We're talking about Mundo. Mundo was a functioning, active member in 1971 who was at San Quentin. How did he forget that, oh shit, George Jackson was actually the leader and founder of the Black Panthers? How am I getting that confused with the Black Guerrilla family? Or is it because my strings are being pulled and I'm being told to regurgitate a COINTELPRO-like lie in order to discredit black revolutionaries and sell a prison boogeyman fairy tale? Because that's what's been done to us for over 50 years, right? That George Jackson is the founder and leader of the Black Guerrilla family. When 31st and Central, yep, I've seen it. Yes, I have. Yep. That's actually a very good one. They talk about the Black Panthers. I think they mentioned a lot of it, like Bunchy Carter. Bunchy Carter was a member of the prison Black Panthers that was brought into the Black Panthers because of George Jackson. Many of the South Central Black Panthers were converted into Black Panthers by George Jackson while they were in prison. But somehow it gets confused, right? By these fucking tattooed fucking COINTEL agent provocateurs, Cholo agent provocateurs, that George Jackson was a member of the BGF. He was not a member of the BGF. Okay? I challenge any of you guys to try to find any early documentation regarding the BGF. There is no known public documentation or sealed documentation. Okay? There is no documentation prior to 1973. The name, the Black Guerrilla family, was never heard publicly till 1973. That is the first time that name ever came into existence. So how was it possible that W.L. Knoll, George Jackson, Hugo Yogi Pinell, and Soledad Prison in 1970 were Black Guerrilla family? Yeah, they had this exact. Well, and you know what's funny? Miggy does it, not to get off subject, but this Big U thing. Big U and individuals like Skip Thompson and Uncle Tom, American House Cholo, who claim to be gang activists, right, interventionists. These guys get promoted by the media, promoted by local government, promoted by law enforcement, right? What grassroots connections do any of these guys have, right? The Black Panthers, the Brown Berets, Young Lords, and even the White Panthers, the Young Socialist Party, many of these groups, they didn't get support from the media. They didn't get support from local government or law enforcement. You just said it, Miggy. They would often shoot you, threaten you, falsely arrest you, or plant false rat jackets on you. Yet these guys, right? No, PNG. If you look, news articles, anything related, you will not see the mention of the Black Guerrilla family until 1973. No news articles, not just Hankins' testimony, because there's been other. I have articles, I have clips from James Parks and another correctional officer who was actually at San Quentin during Black August and was one of the guys who went in storming after the event. These individuals at 1971, a month after George Jackson, right, was killed, claimed that their biggest threat were Nazis, Chicano radicals, and Black Panthers. They never once mentioned that their biggest threat to the prison were Mexican Mafia, Nuestra Familia, BGF. They never once ever mentioned them. There's several articles I've found from like 1967 that are mentioning riots breaking out between multiracials in prison, but they're called black Muslims, black militants, not called the BGF. You will not see anything Mexican mafia. You will not find that name mentioned prior to the September 6, 1968. Even though they've been in existence allegedly since 57, right? You will not hear the Mexican mafia mentioned. Same thing with the Aryan Brotherhood. The Aryan Brotherhood is not mentioned until the early 70s. But yet, according to Mundo, these groups were already in existence for over a decade. Yeah, but no. Anyways, let's not. I mean, I don't want to keep this any longer, but than it needs to be without going out of track. Yeah, I mean, you will not find no documentation of these groups. So how is it possible? I mean, that this group was in existence, like Mundo claims, when the alleged leader, James Doc Holliday himself, who testified under oath, yes, I started the Black Guerrilla family, and it started in late 71 or early 72 after George Jackson was dead. And James Doc Holliday has never gone on the record to state if George Jackson was a member. I don't even think they knew each other, to be honest. I think they didn't. They were. I think they were at Soledad at separate times, or maybe never celled near each other. I don't even think they knew each other. But James Doc Holliday knew the SLA. How many of you guys ever heard of Liberation Holliday's homeboy? He would publicly claim under oath that the SLA and the BGF, that the SLA was like a splinter group of the BGF or something like that. But he claimed under oath that there was an alliance between the BGF and the SLA. Now, if any of you guys know about the shadiness of the SLA, it should make you wonder why the group like that. But anyways, I want to talk about this. Okay, now another thing. That's oh shit. I can't do it on my. I'm using my iPhone, which I had all my documentation that I was gonna read and show you guys. So I'm just gonna have to fucking summarize it, and you guys can go. You guys can go onto the community post, and you'll see all this. Now, according to Mundo Mendoza, again, Megan's Law mobster is irrelevant. Yeah, PNG. The SLA is a questionable group. Yep, the SLA were all snitches, right? They were the precursor, right? The first group to ever come out of prison was the Manson family and his cult, followed by the SLA. SLA is actually the first prison-created gang, political gang, that came out to the streets and started causing havoc. But Mundo has no clue that the SLA ever existed in prison. Good point, guys. Good point, because I did not have that in my talking points. Mundo never mentions the existence of the SLA, even though Mundo was housed in the same unit that was financed by the CIA, which they were conducting their MKUltra project, right, on prisoners. He was housed in the same unit, the Lister unit, with the leader of the SLA, Donald DeFries, at the very same time. They were together at the unit where the CIA allegedly programmed the leader of the SLA in a mind control program. And that's the very same program that Mundo was in. And how funny that Mundo comes out of prison and he starts some Cholo SLA type group running around, right? Robbing, killing, similar to the SLA. But anyways, I'm going to summarize what I'm going to talk about. According to Mundo, there was 2 alleged Mexican mafia members that were involved with Black August. One, Bala Talamontes, and Rocon Lou Lopez. He's adamant that these 2 individuals were the only 2 individuals that were involved with helping the BGF during the so-called uprising. It was an uprising. It was not a riot. It was not an escape attempt. It was an uprising. Plain and simple. It was an uprising. Now, if you look in the community post, I'm going to show you a sworn affidavit. And I fucking wish I could read it to you guys. But it's on my iPhone. And that's the only way I can get it. but it's a sworn affidavit from all the individuals who were in the adjustment center during August 21st, 1971, the day George Jackson was killed, assassinated. Now, inside of there, yes, there is Rock on Louis Lopez's name is mentioned. Bala Talamantes' name is mentioned, but there's another individual is mentioned in there, Robert Bobby Soto. Now, I don't think any of you guys have ever heard Mundo mention Robert Bobby Soto, and I don't want to say why, but I have a suggestion and I have a reason why. One is because he was heavily active in the Chicano movement and involved with helping the Soledad brothers and George Jackson. But another, I think, and don't quote me, but I think he might have been one of the individuals, the Chicano individuals, who in, I think, 1955 was beaten badly by the LAPD in an event that would be known as Bloody Christmas, which was fictionalized in the movie LA Confidential. I believe he's one of the individuals. So I think that might be the reason why no one wants to mention him. But what I do have in front of me, and I am going to read to you guys to confirm that there was a third founding member of the group that would be known by the as the Mexican Mafia, right? By the media, to confirm that it is true what I'm saying. Is I'm reading from this book right here. Maximum Security Letters from Prison, right? This book, I believe, was released in 1972, maybe 1970. No, yeah, has to be 1972 because there's letters in here from 1971. And I'm gonna read two letters. One on this page right here. I'll kind of hold it so you guys can kind of be like, "Oh shit, you for real?" You're gonna be like, "You fucking for real?" Right? Remember, actives don't talk. Mundo, the secret organization, would never talk publicly. Right? No political ambitions. Let me see that. Can you guys see that? Does everyone see that? Does everyone see that? I just want to make sure everyone is seeing that shit. Just so it doesn't get motherfucking confused. Give me a thumbs up and a like if you guys can see that shit. You guys see that? Prison number right there? Anyone recognize that shit? Anyone have any idea who that might be? Okay. Let me see. You guys, anyone recognize who that is? But this secret organization never partners up with black inmates, right? Never has a working hand with other races, correct? They never talk publicly. Look at it. Again, guys, Amazon, 1972. Let me see. Let's get it correct. Let's get it correct here. Let's look at. Yeah. Let's not. Yep. Correct. 1972. Yep. You guys saw it, and that's not the only one that's in there. Every major individual from all the alleged 4 groups all have letters. Multiple. Hugo Pinell, there's letters in there from W.L. Knoll, multiple individuals. Okay? Frankie B., Ralph Chacon. I can keep going, but this, it has Hugo Pinell in there, I believe. Raymond Marquez. You guys have never heard of Raymond Marquez, but that's another individual who you'll never hear Mundo mention. But it has multiple. Okay? Every letter in this book were signed affidavits given to Faye Stender, which were letters that were used in the defense for the Soledad brothers and George Jackson. But Chicanos and blacks hate each other, right? Never do they work together to help each other out. Now, let's look at that again. So, you guys can even get his inmate number, his first inmate number when he was first incarcerated in 1970, I believe. So, let me read this. Dear Elaine, Monday after you and other attorneys left, myself and other inmates on my tier and other tiers were committed to unsanitary and cruel punishment. The toilets were turned off and we were not fed. And today, myself and Bobby Soto, let me repeat that, myself, meaning Raymond Weddle Shy, and Bobby Soto, the individual who Mundo forgets was in the adjustment center with George Jackson, along with Rock On Lou and Bala Talamantes. March 23rd, 1971. So this letter is actually months prior to George Jackson being killed. Had hot coffee thrown on us and were gassed. None of us were fed. None of us on O1 had clothes except shorts and socks, and we had no sheets. Something must be done to stop these people from threatening us this way. We wish that you and other attorneys would get some kind of court order against this type of treatment or investigate or something. We consider this quite an emergency. Also, please see what you can be done to have me removed from this tier like they told me they were going to do in committee or to a line or to another institution. By the way, when myself and Bobby Soto, again, Robert Bobby Soto, the individual that was in the adjustment center that Mundo Mendoza seems to forget, even though he was a functioning, active member at San Quentin during this exact incident, were gassed and had hot coffee thrown on us. We were in our cell and did no kind of harm to the officer that did this and any officer that are doing the same. They made no effort so far to give any of us on the tier clothes or anything to clean the hot coffee that was thrown on us or out of our cell. There are 8 or 9 of us on this tier going through this treatment. All we ask is to be treated like human beings, which we are. We wish that something would be done as soon as possible. Thank you. Yours truly, Ramon M. Shryock, B28722-0/138. P.S. Regards from all the brothers. So, according to Mundo, there's no politically active Mexican mafia members, right? But here, Raymond Weddle Shy sent a letter to Faye Stender, which this letter was signed and helped to use George Jackson and the Soledad brothers. And he even signs at the bottom, P.S. Regards from all the brothers. So what is that? The 1% that Mundo talks about? Now, I'm going to read another. What do you guys think? Give me a thumbs up, or not thumbs up, give me a like. Give me a like, hit the love, notification, sub. You mean? Let me know what you think. Huh? What YouTuber has ever read you direct letters from these individuals, which are publicly available to you on Amazon? I don't think I paid $10 for this book. I think maybe 12. I'm going to read this one now over here. Dear Elaine, more things are happening here, left and right. Today, March 24th, 1971, myself and Raymond Manriquez. Look, again, what I tell you, Raymond Manriquez, another individual who was in the adjustment center too. But you'll never hear his name mentioned by Mundo because he's another fully activated, politically and revolutionary active homeboy, right? An active carnal. And Leonard Stantz, look at, you got who knows? PNG, tell us who Leonard Stantz is. Who knows who Leonard Stantz is? So, right? Raymond Weddle Shy and Raymond Manriquez and Leonard Stantz. Does anyone know who Leonard Stantz is? Were forced by 21 officers on the tier with a gas gun in one hand and a club in the other to clean the tier. There were some outside the gate with shotguns ready to fire. We had no choice but to come out of our cells in shorts and shower thongs and clean the tier. And on the second tier, C wing, the inmates were doused with gas and 3 shotguns were brought in and 1 shotgun was fired. Something must be done. We need some support or get me away from here because they're laying dead to get certain inmates. And I hope you and your associates will be able to do something for us soon as possible. More inmates are hurt. Thank you. Regards from all the brothers. Now, okay, Look at that. Regards from all the brothers, Venceremos, Raymond M. Shryock. Have you ever heard Mundo say the Venceremos or talk about the Venceremos? Right? Look at that. Uh-huh. See? I told you I was going to kill two fucking birds with one stone. I've been waiting for this moment to destroy these motherfuckers. Okay? So, there was actually 4 alleged validated original members of La Familia Mexicana, what would be the precursor to the Mexican Mafia in the Adjustment Center. But on August 21st, 1971, helping the Black Panthers and George Jackson. Okay, guys, it was not the Mexican Mafia and the BGF. It was the Black Panthers and the political and revolutionary members of the what would be labeled by the media the Mexican Mafia. Okay, look at the book, Danger and Trust, San Quentin, the Mexican Mafia, and the Chicano movement. Mundo has been lying to you guys for fucking years, since 1981 when he first went public with his interview with FBI Director Clarence Kelly. That motherfucker is a piece of shit liar. Okay? Now, when you guys go on the community post and you see the affidavits, you'll see Bobby Soto's name in there. You'll see several names. There is several names of individuals who would be labeled as founding members of the group that would be called the Aryan Brotherhood in there too. One such name is Alan Mancino. Who's ever heard the name Alan Mancino? Has anyone ever heard the name Alan Mancino related to the Aryan Brotherhood and specifically Black August? Anyone? Any of you dedicated outlaw renegades and truth seekers of America never heard of Alan Mancino? As Boxer Mendoza, the fucking King Hippo, right? The Mike Tyson King Hippo Norteño fucking snitch influencer profiled Black August one time. And according to him, he's an Aryan Brotherhood hitman who was ordered by the Aryan Brotherhood to try to kill George Jackson. Has anyone ever heard that? The rumor that the Aryan Brotherhood had a hit out trying to kill George Jackson? Did it? No one's ever heard that rumor? As a matter, I mean, Mundo said it a few times. You've heard of John. These individuals, 99% of the individuals who talk about Black August and mention Alan Mancino will tell you that he's an Aryan Brotherhood assassin who was ordered by the Aryan Brotherhood to kill George Jackson. That's the rumor, right? The prison boogeyman fairy tale. But if you guys watch the documentary Day of the Gun, which shows Alan Mancino being interviewed, he says himself that he was asked to kill George Jackson by prison staff, by dirty staff. I'm not going to say the system, even though we should be saying the system. It was dirty staff that wanted George Jackson dead, and they were offering Alan Mancino early parole. Day of the Gun, yep. They offered Alan Mancino early parole if he would kill George Jackson, that they would open up his cell so he could try to kill George Jackson. He declined, and then in fact, he actually sent a kite to George Jackson, warning him that prison guards wanted him dead. Well, when you guys go on the community post, now remember, these snitch influencers will tell you Alan Mancino is a high-ranking assassin for the Aryan Brotherhood. When you guys go on the community post, you're also going to see an affidavit signed from Alan Mancino, March 1971, several months before George Jackson is assassinated in the Adjustment Center at San Quentin on August 21st, 1971. Several months, right? So, like 3-4 months before his assassination, Alan Mancino was at Soledad Prison and signed an affidavit. Yeah, I'll put the books in the community too. He signed an affidavit to Faye Stender, who was going to use it in the defense of the Soledad brothers, that he was offered early parole at Soledad prison, not San Quentin. He was offered early parole. He says the date. I don't want to say it was March, but somewhere early spring, late winter, he was offered early parole by the prison staff if he would kill George Jackson. That they would put him together to give him the opportunity to kill George Jackson. He signed a sworn affidavit given to Faye Stender, which was used in the defense against for George Jackson and the Soledad brothers. But again, there is no working alliance. No way would a racist organization of white convicts ever help some, right? Some black militants, right? Would never help the Black Panthers, right? Go in the community. I wish my fucking Android phone didn't fuck up. Well, either way, you would have to go in the community because I have it on my phone in my documents. But it's a sworn affidavit signed by Alan Mancino that it was not the Aryan Brotherhood who had a hit out on George Jackson. That in fact, it was prison staff, dirty cops. I'm not going to say the system, even though we should say that. It was dirty cops that wanted George Jackson assassinated, which helped the assassination on August 21st. And we'll get to that. Okay? So, I'm going to put Alan Mancino's affidavit and a signed affidavit from every individual who was in the Adjustment Center and Black August. And the shit they talk about, what happened to them. They were severely beaten. Some of the individuals were severely beaten unconscious. I believe Alan Mancino was shot in the balls. They shot him in one testicle. I think he lost a testicle because he was shot during the whole Black August incident. Well, that's weird because there's people who are credible black convicts, right? Who are credible that say that individual was actually an individual who had a long history of working with prison authorities. I tell you guys, a lot of this stuff, a lot of these things you see in the media that happened are really perpetrated by undercover snitch and agent provocateurs. Has anyone ever heard of the author Dave McGowan, who wrote the book Program to Kill? And I believe Dark Scenes in Laurel Canyon, I believe. Has anyone seen The Simpsons and seen the episode where Bart Simpson and his friends start a boy band, and it turns out that it's really a band that's financed and controlled by the military intelligence, and that they're using it to subconsciously program the youth into like whatever ideology they want? Anyone ever seen that episode of The Simpsons? I know some of you guys are old like me. Okay, so I'm done with Bobby Soto, the MA Alliance, Alan Mancino, affidavit of the guys. Okay, guys. So I'm also going to put in the community post, I'm going to put sworn testimony from James W. Parks. Does anyone know who James W. Parks is? James W. Parks was the warden at San Quentin, a well-known prison individual, but he was actually the warden at San Quentin during Black August, 1971. He's the individual, I tell you, I have a clip, which maybe I'll do a short, and I have a clip of him and the guard talking about the biggest threats inside the prison in 1971. And never once did they mention BGF, Emmett, Aryan Brotherhood, or anything. Only prison radicals. But I'm going to put in the affidavit. In that affidavit, it's sworn testimony from James W. Parks that he, in fact, was notified by the FBI and intelligence that there was going to be an escape attempt made to help get George Jackson out of prison. They knew as far as February of the previous year, which was February of 1970, that there was going to be an attempt to try to help George Jackson escape. And they made no efforts. George Jackson was not transferred into a more secure area. If anything, he was placed in an area with less restriction. They had a viable threat given to them by government intelligence and the FBI that they discovered a letter smuggled out of prison signed by George Jackson, given, and they found it in the pants, the dry cleaning up pants of James Carr. Does anyone know who James Carr is? No one's ever heard the name James Carr? I believe he was a one of the Black Panthers from South Central. As a matter of fact, he's an original Slauson. If you guys are familiar with the LA gangs, James Carr, I believe, is an original Slauson who converted into the Black Panthers. Yep, yep, P&G. That's what I was waiting for. I knew it was going to be you. Yeah, James Carr wrote the book Bad. And anyone ever heard of the book Bad? Mundo's mentioned it several times. James Carr is like George Jackson, like his sergeant of arms. If anyone has ever seen the movie Black August, the one that's based on George Jackson, the individual who allegedly helped set up George Jackson in the end, that's the James Carr character. Well, it's said, and I guess it's true, that James Carr, and I'll explain why, James Carr became working with prison authorities and the COINTELPRO operation to help facilitate the escape of George Jackson so they can use that event in order to assassinate him, and it would look justifiable and wouldn't be questionable, right? James Carr is said to be the individual who helped smuggle the explosive in to George Jackson, which he was allegedly going to use to explode the wall of San Quentin so he can escape, right, instead of climbing over it. How many of you guys think that's a hilarious story? That George Jackson had two vials, right? Two fucking little vials full of some fucking explosive that was going to blow a hole in the wall of San Quentin so he can go through. That's the official narrative. Now, James Carr is the individual who helped smuggle it in. And yes, I mean, it is said that James Carr was an informant, and it does look like he was, but he wasn't a willing informant. For those of you who don't know, he was actually, several informants facilitated an event for James Carr to be placed in a specific incident in the Santa Cruz Mountains where he acquired the explosives to blow the hole in San Quentin. He was put in a particular position where they brought a low-level informant, two other informants. It was actually three informants because the guy who allegedly created the explosives, the guy who ran the bomb-making factory in Santa Cruz, was actually an FBI informant, agent provocateur, part of the COINTELPRO. Well, anyways, that individual and two other informants facilitated an incident where they brought James Carr in the presence of a low-level informant and then told James Carr that this guy was an informant, and James Carr would end up proceeding to kill this individual. So they were able to use the leverage of prosecuting him and sending him back to prison for life, or him betraying George Jackson, and sad to say, he chose to betray George Jackson and paid the ultimate price, because it said that he was killed because they knew that he would never keep his mouth shut about the truth, that he wasn't a willing participant in the assassination plot of George Jackson. Okay? But that's what I want to say about James Carr. I don't think I've read that book yet. Yeah, the gun. I was just going to talk about the gun. How many of you guys heard the rumor, well, that's what Mundo was talking about, that a gun was smuggled into George Jackson, and that gun was the gun that he used to allegedly escape. Now, according to rumors, this wasn't even a functioning gun. They didn't even have a functioning firing pin. You guys heard, right, that his attorney, Bigham, right? Last name Bigham. I don't know what his first name is. I totally forget. I'm drawing a blank. But his attorney, Bigham, who ended up going on the run and then ended up being acquitted, right? Do you guys know that this attorney who allegedly smuggled the gun into George Jackson was acquitted of this charge in the mid-'80s? No, the gun was found. But If you guys watch the Day of the Gun and they show the old newspaper articles and the old interviews. In the beginning, I believe they said it was an Austria 9 millimeter Luger. In the beginning, they claimed that that was the gun that George Jackson was hidden in his wig. But when the San Francisco Chronicle ran an expose and tried to reenact the scene, they could not hide a, a gun that big. If anyone's familiar with an Austria, right? Austria, I believe it is, yeah. 9 millimeter Luger. It's pretty big. It's probably about a little bit smaller than a Beretta 92, if you guys are familiar with your guns. But there's no way someone could have hidden that under a wig. Well, anyways, in the court, it turned out I believe, I want to say they said it was an Ivory Johnson 32. So the first gun they showed to the media was a 9 millimeter, but then when it came to court, the gun turned all of a sudden was a 32 ASAP. I want to say it was an Ivory Johnson. Don't quote me on it, but how many of you guys have ever heard the name Vanita Johnson? Vanita Johnson was the legal aide that actually was there with Attorney Bigham in the attorney visiting room. Both of them were there to visit George Jackson. But Vanita didn't know the George Jackson's attorney. She just showed up. So they didn't even know each other. The so-called legal aide, Vanita Johnson, was never allowed. The prison authorities didn't allow her to see George Jackson. So his attorney was the only one that saw George Jackson. She asked if he could take the recorder in order to record the interview with George Jackson. Because why does he need to record it? Because he could take notes. So that recorder, he didn't even bring himself to the visiting with George Jackson. It was given to him by the alleged legal aide, Vanita Johnson. This girl was never forced to testify. Law enforcement made no efforts to contact her, locate her. As a matter of fact, she was relocated to the Midwest and hidden from the public until the trial ended. So they couldn't find her to testify because the rumor mill is that she was an agent provocateur, part of the COINTELPRO. And that can be confirmed with, has anyone ever heard the name Louis Tackwood? If you guys have never heard the name Louis Tackwood and the book, The Glass House Tapes, you guys are missing out on something. No one's ever heard of the name Louis Tackwood? I'm waiting for someone to say they've heard the name Louis Tackwood. Louis Tackwood is, again, he's an original member of the Slossons, I believe. An offshoot of the Slossons, which is called the Huns. Now, this individual has a notorious record of working as an informant. Yeah, he does. Louis Tackwood has a notorious record of working for the LAPD, the FBI, and several intelligence agencies dating back to, I believe, 1965. He was recruited as an informant, one of the first ghetto informants, right? One of the echelon informants for the Ghetto Informant Project shortly after the Watts riots. The Watts Rebellion. Let's get it straight. The Watts Rebellion. It was not a riot. A Watts Rebellion. So Louis Tackwood testified during the case of the San Quentin Six and also during the civil lawsuit that 6 guards from San Quentin, the 3 individuals who were killed and 3 other guards, families sued San Quentin and prison authorities because they claimed that they conspired with other individuals to create the scenario which would lead to the assassination of George Jackson, which would also collateral damage the death of 3 guards, 2 inmates, and several other guards that were hurt. Louis Tackwood testified under oath that he was part of an elite group of the LAPD. I believe the conspiracy squad or something like that, CCI, Criminal Conspiracy Investigation Unit, I believe is what it is. CCI. He was part of one of the very first Red Squad COINTELPRO groups out of the LAPD. And he claims that he is the individual that helped smuggle another gun, not that gun, but that there was another gun that was also smuggled in the day prior to the incident that was originally going to be smuggled to George Jackson, but wasn't smuggled to him. So this individual was one of the key individuals responsible for helping the San Quentin Six get an acquittal, right? Because if you guys seen the video, Mundo talks about that these individuals were acquitted, right? The San Quentin Six, who allegedly three three guards and two inmates, yet they were acquitted, and only Yogi Pinnell was charged with assault and battery on a guard, and I mean he got the book thrown at him, but no one was charged for the murders. No one was charged for the escape attempt. Nothing related to Black August. They were all acquitted because there was enough evidence to prove that in fact there was a conspiracy to cause the scenario, right, that would lead George Jackson to come out of his cell to justify killing him and making it look like he was trying to escape, when in fact it was a well orchestrated, right, tragic comedy in order to kill him, to assassinate him. And then the following, and shortly after, what I tell you guys, CDCR publicly claims that the most outspoken prison reformist and revolutionary is none other than Rudy Cheyenne Cadena, who was also mysteriously killed the following year after George Jackson's death. Okay, so I covered James Carr, I covered the explosives, Lewis Tackwood, and the no conviction. What do you guys think about that, guys? That these guys tell this prison boogeyman fairy tale story about the San Quentin Six, how they killed 3 guards and 2 inmate snitches. Remember, who's ever heard Mundo say that these inmates are snitches, right? That these inmates were inmate snitches that were killed and 3 prison guards. Is that anyone ever heard Mundo say that? So they caused this havoc, right? This so-called rebellion to help George Jackson escape. And the longest known running trial, these individuals, 5 of them are acquitted, and only Hugo Yogi Pinnell is charged with assault and battery on a prison staff. That's COINTEL. That's COINTELPRO. They have to keep us united. They have to keep us divided. That's COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO never disbanded. It just splintered off into different things. One was the formation of the Prison Gang Task Force. Many of those individuals are some of the very individuals who were involved with some of the first Red Squads who were out to infiltrate these groups. I've told you guys, Richard Valdemar in high school as a junior explorer was recruited by, I believe the LA Sheriffs. He was recruited by the LA Sheriffs to infiltrate the Brown Berets. Okay? Richard Valdemar, right? The famed LAPD gang sheriff, as a junior explorer was recruited, and that was his first taste at law enforcement. After that, I believe he went into the military, and after that he got pulled into the sheriff's department. And this dude he's never really worked the beat. This dude moved up the ranks, all because he started working as a junior explorer, infiltrating the Brown Berets. No. I mean, most of these organizations, I'm telling you, Big U, Skip Thompson, and Uncle Tom, American House Cholo, all youth interventionists / agent provocateurs, right? We have to be careful. They're everywhere. How many of you guys know, I said it before, how many of you guys know Walt Disney was an FBI informant, and that he had to have all his cartoons first pre-approved by the FBI before they're edited, and they're supposed to be designed and catered to make law enforcement seem good and criminals bad? No one knows that Walt Disney and both Ronald Reagan were FBI informants in Hollywood, and their job was to prevent from it, like civil rights activists, alleged communists, and people supportive of Martin Luther King from gaining notoriety and respect. No one's ever heard Sammy Davis Jr. was threatened by the mob because he was supporting the Black Panthers. William O'Neill. Yep. Fred Hampton. Julius Butler. Anyone know who Julius Butler is? Julius Butler is the guy who helped set up Geronimo Pratt. Okay? These guys were never convicted. How is it possible that Mundo is going to tell us a story that these guys created this havoc, killed 3 guards and 2 snitches, yet when it's all said and done, no convictions except Yogi Pinnell, who got assault with the deadly weapon on prison staff for slashing somebody. That's it. Now, with that said, this is where I want to talk about. I'll take a moment to talk about Megan's Law mafioso Rene Boxer Enriquez. How many of you guys heard in that video him talking about Bala? How Luis Bala Talamantes used to send him postcards, and that Bala Talamantes, after being released from prison, became very politically active and advocating for prison reform and prisoners' rights. Anyone see that in the recent video that they did on Black August? They talked about how he was the only individual, him and Rock On Lou were the only 2 individuals that would dare work together hand in hand with the Black Guerrilla family. No one heard him say that in his thing? Mundo claims that, like I told you before, that Bala Talamantes is the only individual who has any political and revolutionary aspirations in the Mexican mafia, besides Rudy Cheyenne Cadena. No one's heard him talk about how he corresponded with Bala while he was in Pelican Bay Shoe. Man, no one's seen the video, or just no one paid attention like I did. Megan's Law mafioso Rene Boxer Enriquez says in the recent video on the rat spot / the mob spot that he used to correspond with Bala Talamantes. Yep, those fools are capped. Yeah. He claims that he corresponded with Bala. That Bala was a prison advocate, advocated for prisoners' rights, right, and a prison reformist. Has anyone ever read his book? Who here has ever read The Black Hand? I'm going to school you guys. I'm going to take you guys to prison genre school. No? You didn't watch it yet. What? Pay attention till I talk about Luis Bala Talamantes, and then watch what I'm going to say. I've heard the video. Okay. You guys hear him talk about Bala? Okay, good. Somebody did. Anyone read The Black Hand? No one, specifically chapter 19, where he talks about Luis Bala Talamantes? Never read The Black Hand. If you go on to, what's his name? King Kong Bundy, right? Go on to the social media of Mike Tyson, King Kong Bundy, Boxer Mendoza's channel, and he's got it on audio. He's read it, and he has it on audio. Chapter 19, The Black Hand. He talks about... Yeah, Frank Martinez. Frank Martinez is the guy... I'll talk about him right now. But anyways, if you go on chapter 19, read it, or go on to Boxer Mendoza's channel, Paradigm News Media, and look at the audio, chapter 19 of The Black Hand. He talks about Bala Talamantes. In his book, he claims that Bala Talamantes is the highest ranking Mexican mafia member out in the streets, that calling the shots for everybody, that everything has to be run through him. Yet, in his interview, he says that Bala Talamantes doesn't mention anything about Bala being the heavyweight hitter on the streets. But in his book, it's a again, you could tell COINTELPRO. This is how they try to smut up the revolutionaries. He uses his book to smut up Bala, and he claims that Bala is the highest ranking member of the Mexican mafia, that he's fronting off as a political activist and prison reformist, but in reality, that he's using his persona in the community to advance the Mexican mafia's criminal activities. Has anyone, okay, with that said, has anyone ever seen a full clip of Rene Boxer Enriquez's debriefing video? Or have you guys just seen the little clips that are out on YouTube? P, uh, P, Police and Fire Publishing for a while had posted it up, I think for like a month. They posted it up. 2 videos. Each one was like over 30 minutes. And it was a segment of Rene Boxer, Megan's Law Mafioso, Rene Boxer Enriquez debriefing video. You seen it, see? Man, Manuel Martinez, you're on top of your fucking prison genre. Okay, guys. In his debriefing video, just the little clips. In his debriefing video that they did put up, he claims that Bala Talamantes is just fronting as a political activist and that he is the main mafioso on the streets calling shots for all the individuals. That he's actually the one pulling the strings for all the other guys that are doing all the street operations. That's in his debriefing video. Since Bala Talamantes is released in 1976, he has never been arrested or convicted or suspected of being involved in any criminal activity. Yet, Rene Boxer Enriquez, in his debriefing video and on his book, claims that Bala Talamantes is the highest ranking Mexican mafia member on the streets. Yet, go watch his interview that he dropped on the Mob Spot. In there, he doesn't mention any of that stuff, right? Just like you're never going to hear them on the Mob Spot mention that Joe Morgan is a rat. Just like you're never going to hear Boxer Enriquez, right, address that he's on Megan's Law and then he went to prison for forced sodomy, right? That's his own testimony. Has anyone seen Rene Boxer Enriquez's recent parole paperwork? The paperwork that's related to why he was paroled? In there, he has a statement of facts. And in the statement of facts, he has to declare his life of crime. And he states that he first entered the prison system for a series of armed robberies and forced sodomy. So when I say he is a Megan's Law mafioso or a sex offender or somebody that shouldn't be glorified, I'm not going on rumors, hearsay. That is his own words from his own statements. And under oath in 2018 in U.S. versus Jose Loza, Rene Boxer Enriquez also testified for the prosecution. Under cross-examination, he was asked about why he first went to prison. And he said a series of robberies and forced sodomy on a young girl. You drive a lot? I highly recommend. Yeah, while I'm driving, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. The Book of Five Rings. I don't know how many times I've listened to 48 Laws of Power, 33 Laws of Strategy. 33 Strategies of War. I'm getting confused here. But yeah, I've read all those books, man. I've read all those books. Let's see, I'm trying to think what other books that I fucking read on a frequent basis. Has anyone ever read Dante's Inferno? I love listening to Dante's Inferno. That is without a doubt one of my favorite fucking books. And the Book of Five Rings, Brant Daniels was just talking about that earlier. Go Ring No Show, the Book of Five Rings is one of my favorite. But yeah, I mean, these guys completely contradict themselves. In this debriefing video, they call Bala the heavy hitter, but yet on the most recent video, they don't mention any of that shit. They don't mention none of that crap. Now, I'm going to end this one. And this one, I guess, we'll call it Driving the Nail in Mundo Mendoza's coffin. Because again, remember, Mundo was an active functioning member during this period. There's no margin of error. He was a functioning member. He should have a first-hand knowledge of this incident. Specifically, he was at San Quentin when this shit happened. He was functioning between 70 to 70, well, allegedly, but he actually was working with prison authorities by 1972. But allegedly, he was a functioning member between 1970 to 1977, okay? So all this shit he should fucking know. Now, if you guys listen to his video, he's going to say that 2 snitches were killed, right? that these individuals, these inmates that were killed, were not active gang members or members of any gang, that they were actually two snitches who Yogi Pinnell and the other members of the San Quentin Six proceeded to kill. Now, I want to fast forward a little forward because remember, this guy claims that he's a Christian and thou shalt not lie. And he's telling you, he's adamant. This guy will not fucking bend. He is adamant that the two individuals during Black August that were killed were prison snitches. Has anyone ever heard him say that? You can go on his video, any video that he does about Black August, he's adamant that the two guys are prison snitches. And he's adamant that these individuals, though white convicts, are not members of the Aryan Brotherhood. Now, who knows who Yogi Pinnell is? I'm pretty sure everyone knows who Yogi Pinnell is, right? You guys know he was killed on August 12th, 2015. Very interesting, right? That he was killed on Black August 12th. But if you reverse it, wouldn't that be 21st? Manuel Ramirez, because if you listen to Michael Thompson says he's a Black Panther. Any interview I've seen of Hugo Yogi Pinnell, he professes to be a Black Panther. And several known individuals who have openly admitted association or to being members or former members of the BGF have also said that Yogi Pinnell was not a member of the BGF, that he was actually a member of the prison Black Panthers. But that's COINTELPRO. That's COINTELPRO. How do you smut up a revolutionary? You label him as a criminal. Martin Luther King was labeled as a communist, right? Malcolm X was labeled as a criminal and agitator. And shit, I'm fucking trying to think of the other guy. I really fucking wish I can think of his name. He's a Black Panther, the Minister of Information. Shit. Why his name is not coming to me, I do not know. Well, anyways, I wish I would have known. But these individuals, anyone who's usually political is usually labeled a criminal. It's a label they put on you to smut you up. Okay. Well, anyways, remember, Hugo Pinnell was killed August 12th, 2015. Has anyone been following the Aryan Brotherhood federal indictments? Anyone read the paperwork? Not Huey P. No, not Huey P. Yeah, he's a tragic story too. I'm fucking trying to think of his name. He's the one who left to Algeria. And he used to be the journalist for Rampart, PMG. I don't know if that kind of helps you. I hope you can help me out with that. He was a Minister of Information. But okay, so no one's followed the Aryan Brothers. Michael Thompson also said BGF wanted to recruit him. Yeah. Eldridge Cleaver, there you go. Anyone ever heard of Eldridge Cleaver? Do you guys know Eldridge Cleaver had to leave the country and hide in Algeria because according to rumors, the prison authorities were attempting to assassinate him, right? Just prior to the assassination of George Jackson. Eldridge Cleaver was a prison Black Panther and was a San Quentin radical. Eldridge Cleaver was the George Jackson before George Jackson was in San Quentin. Branton's living it. Okay, guys. Well, anyways, shout out to Miss D and Brant. Much love. Truth Seekers of America. The founder of the Truth Seekers of America Club, Brant, our boy. Well, anyways, so Hugo Yogi Pinnell is killed, right, on August 12th, 2015. Now, if you guys follow the federal indictment, Ronnie Yondell and several other alleged members of the group that's labeled the Aryan Brotherhood. Again, I don't say these names to throw people on blast, but these names are already out there. This is all public knowledge. Yet, if you guys put it together, you'll see these guys are lying, because the alleged members of the Aryan Brotherhood in the federal indictment have been convicted of ordering the murder of Hugo Yogi Pinell. And it's alleged the reason why they ordered the murder of Hugo Yogi Pinell was because he was responsible for killing two of their members in 1971 in the Adjustment Center. Now, I'm not saying that's true. I don't even believe that. That is the narrative that the individuals, right, who are protecting Mundo and Witsec right now, federal protective custody, and Boxer Enriquez. These individuals, Mundo's handlers, right now, the federal government is in court completely contradicting Mundo's statement that these guys were snitches because they're convicting alleged members of the Aryan Brotherhood for allegedly ordering the murder of Hugo Yogi Pinell. Why would they order the murder of two individuals who Mundo is adamant are snitches? You see what I mean? You cannot believe one word that comes out of that fucker's mouth. He's going to lie and do everything possible in order to distort the truth so you never find out the truth. Danger and trust. San Quentin, the Mexican Mafia, and the Chicano movement. We're living in a prison matrix, which is AKA a social media COINTEL PSYOPs. That's designed to lie to us, to hide to hide the truth of the original origins of these groups and their political activism. How is it possible that Mundo was there in 1971, right, during this alleged incident on a low-level prison yard, right? All of a sudden, he's not the Billy Badass. I happen to be on the low-level prison yard. I'm usually in the adjustment center, but just so happens I'm not during Black August. But after Black August, I'm always in the adjustment center because William Hankins hates me. See, so there you have it, YouTube Renegades. You can't believe anything that fucking guy says. Anything that guy says. He is a liar. And I just gave you information that completely contradicts him and exposes him to be a fucking Judas. Okay? He's not a snitch influencer today. He's a social media celebrity Judas influencer. Because that's what he is. So is Boxer Enriquez. These guys are fucking Judas. You know why I call him Judas? Does anyone have an idea why? Well, the religion. But how many of you guys know about religion and know that Jesus Christ would technically, historically be considered one of the first political prisoners? An individual who was incarcerated for his political and religious beliefs, not because he actually committed a crime. He was labeled a heretic. Right? And why was he arrested? How was he caught? Because one of his disciples, right, a Judas, right, a snake in the grass, a Judas betrayed him. That's why I call these guys Judas. They run around talking all this fucking religion bullshit, when in reality, they're the furthest thing from a righteous individual. They are the furthest thing from an individual who's reformed or knows what redemption is. These individuals will never ever step a foot in heaven, nor Christ will ever greet them at any gates other than to bitch slap them both and send them to a fucking firing lake, to a lake of fire, where they will suffer and burn for every single lie and manipulative tactic they used on you guys. These guys fucking lie all the time. What do you guys think of that? How is it possible that he's telling us that these guys are snitches, but yet his handlers, right, the federal government, is in court prosecuting people, claiming that they killed these guys because they were members of their gang? Did anyone follow the case? You see why you have to follow cases? You have to go and read the paperwork and do all this stuff? Because when you start comparing all the information and fact checking with credible sources, you see that these guys are fucking lying. There was never no BGF MA alliance, right? It was an MA, well, what would be labeled by the media as MA alliance, with members of the Black Panthers in a scenario which our federal government and prison authorities created just to assassinate George Jackson. Now, I want to know what you guys think. You guys got any questions? PNG, did you ever hear about the attempted assassination on Eldridge Cleaver? Has anyone ever heard of Eldridge Cleaver? Man, dude, we can get into some shit here. We got Huey P. How many of you guys know that Huey P, it's said and rumored that he was also put through the same mind control program that Mundo and Donald DeFreeze from the SLA would put through? Anyone know who Eldridge Cleaver is and the attempt assassination on him? I'm hoping someone says it. I would like PNG. I'm looking at you. No one, no one's ever heard that there was an assassination plot. Yeah, I think he went kind of JCAT status, no, and went Republican, something like that. I heard that too. I heard that he went in his elder years. He went JCAT. I mean, he was like a fucking diehard grassroots liberal, I believe. Yep. Yep. Yeah, he's a famous author. He's a famous author. He actually published the book. They commonly used to refer to George Jackson as another Eldridge Cleaver, just to give you an idea. That George Jackson was often referred to. Soul on Ice, yeah, really good book. Miss D, did you read it? It's a really good book. I highly recommend that, or any of George Jackson's books. But Eldridge Cleaver, in 1968 was released, I believe, from San Quentin and ended up joining the Black Panthers. He ended up becoming the Minister of Information while he was also a respected journalist for Rampart magazine. Soul on Ice. Yeah, you can find it on audio. It's on audio, dude. It's a really good book. Anyways, he ended up leaving the United States to seek refugees in Algeria because the FBI, according to him, the FBI's COINTELPRO and the prison COINTELPRO program was out trying to assassinate him. That there were several credible threats to try to assassinate him while doing speaking engagements at, I believe, the University of Irvine and University of Riverside. If you go online and Google Eldridge Cleaver, University of Irvine speech, you'll see him do a speech and he talks about the assassination plot against him. Now, I say that to say this. I tell you all the time that individuals like Joe Morgan and a lot of these celebrity gangsters are created. Okay, these aren't grassroots dudes. How many of you guys ever heard of the name Sonny Barger? I'll talk about it. I can say I wanted to say something a long time ago, but I didn't want to say anything because he had died, and especially right after his death, and get anyone all butthurt. But anyone know who Sonny Barger is? Sonny Hubert Barger? I'm curious to see who's gonna say. No, I'm waiting. The famous outlaw biker, Sonny Hubert Barger, who brought the group known as the Hells Angels to prominence in the late 60s, early 70s, right? Who, unlike a mafia godfather, right, who's referred to as the motorcycle mafia godfather, who, unlike a typical godfather, the media ate up, right? He was actually worked as an advisor on certain movies on the life of the Hells Angels, right? He was often interviewed on television. Is that kind of weird for a godfather? You guys don't think it's kind of weird for an individual who's considered the mafia godfather on wheels to just kind of embrace the public? Or why the public embraced him instead of shunning him like typical criminal organization godfathers? Yeah, PNG. How many of you guys know that between 1965, it said, and it's true, if you go on his Wikipedia and if you read Hunter H. Thompson's book on the Hells Angels and several other people, there's testimony out there. I want to say the chief of the Oakland PD testified under oath that between 1965 and 1970, Sonny Barger worked with them. He claims trading guns that he got from the Black Panthers, but other people will tell you that it was supplying the Black Panthers with guns that law enforcement will use later to arrest the Black Panthers. Yeah, YouTube Renegades. It's stated that between 1965 and 1970, Sonny Hubert Barger worked with the ATF and local police authorities as part of the COINTELPRO attacking militants and radicals, right? This individual is known for organizing assaults against Brown Beret rallies, Black Panthers. I believe they've even gone and trashed some of their clubhouses. No one's ever heard that? There's rumors. It's been said before. I believe the other guy, the guy from the Ventura County chapter of the Hells Angels, George Christie, has even said what I'm saying about Sonny Barger. Hey, you guys can look on the Wikipedia. You can look on the Hells Angels. And as a matter of fact, I'll put it in the community where Sonny Barger himself says under oath that for a period during the late 60s and early 70s, he was cooperating with law enforcement in some unspecified way against political activists, specifically the Black Panthers. He even claims that someone, which he refuses to mention, went as far as to ask him if he was willing to assassinate a black radical. Now, he has never publicly stated who this individual was or who asked him to do this, but Google this, guys. Larry Shear, ATF informant. Larry Shear, SHEAR. This individual held a press conference in, I want to say 71, 72, maybe even 70, an official press conference in which he stated that he was the bag man who was to give money to Sonny Barger and several individuals in order to carry out the assassination plot against Eldridge Cleaver. No one's ever heard that? No one's ever heard that he's also allegedly was asked to try to, or I heard he did, or he's responsible for it, or tried to, for a bombing at the United Farm Workers Union, that they were trying to assassinate Cesar Chavez as well. No one's ever heard that? Larry Shear, ATF informant. Google it. Larry Shear, ATF informant, press conference. And you'll see. This guy admits, he says that he was the bag man that was supposed to, that it never went through, or I think Sonny Barger ended up coincidentally getting caught with explosives and getting a slap on the hand sentence at San Quentin. I think 2-3 years for having a shitload of fucking dynamite, in which they don't specify, but it was alleged that he was supposed to go bomb a United Farm Workers building or something like that. Anyone ever read Hunter Thompson's Hells Angels book? Several times in that book, there's quotes directly from the Oakland PD, the sergeant, I believe, or the chief of the Oakland PD, talking about how Sonny Barger had a working co-op. And according to Sonny Barger, he cooperated with Oakland PD and law enforcement in order to get a reduced sentence for other fellow Hells Angels. Yeah, so I want to say that kind of wraps it up. All this shit, if I could, I'm going to remember most of the shit because I have it written down in a little fucking note. So except for like James Carr, I can find some stuff on James Carr. I'm gonna put in the links to the informant that talks about how they set up James Carr, because there's an interview on YouTube of the informant who says he's the one responsible for setting up, helping set up James Carr, which they would use to leverage to help set up the assassination of George Jackson. But guys, that pretty much covers it. Did I fucking throw some shockers out there? Did I throw some shit that you guys probably kind of heard murmurs of, rumors, something that's never been really confirmed or really like talked about in detail? What do you guys think? The fact that Mundo, right, an individual who was allegedly supposed to be at San Quentin during Black August, completely has his facts wrong. Do you guys think it's accidental or intentional? Now remember, thou shalt not lie. That's what the Judas is supposed to be living by. Any questions, anyone? Burt Corona. Burt Corona. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That's the guy from Los Tres del Barrio, right? From Casa Cardenalismo. The one that Frank Martinez, I believe, allegedly was gonna set up or something like that. That's when you were talking about the informant that regretted what he did to the Chicano movement, right? Burt Corona. I believe Burt Corona is one of the Los Tres del Barrio. Anyone ever heard of Los Tres del Barrio? The play? I want to reach out to the guy who did the play. It's a fucking pretty good play that came out on, like, you know, the little, I think, in Boyle Heights and a couple other little barrio neighborhoods. I'm telling you, PNG. I mean, there's always been the rumors kind of thrown here and there, but no one has actually done the homework like I have and been able to kind of like bring the threads together, because there's always been the threads of James Carr, Popeye Jackson, and Louis Tackwood. I mean, you hear all these rumors, the COINTEL, I mean, the Brown Berets. Look at Burt Corona. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Migs, but isn't Burt Corona one of Los Tres del Barrio that was involved with Casa Cardenalismo? Anyone ever heard of Casa Cardenalismo? That's a group in Boyle Heights that was predominantly formed by members of Cuatro Flats, White Fence, Boyle Heights, Hazard, and I think Primera Flats, and I want to say several other East LA gangs. This was like their little, it was a grassroots community center that was started up by pretty much the barrio. And these guys pretty much were started up by the barrio, and their number one agenda was to get hardcore drugs out of the barrio. They ran out all the heroin dealers, and according to Frank Martinez, ATF informant Frank Martinez, who said that law enforcement and ATF intentionally was planning undercover informants in there to intentionally sell drugs into the neighborhood to basically throw a wrench in the wheel. And I guess these individuals went and confronted one of them, and the individual, they pulled out a gun, and they ended up shooting them, and they ended up going to jail for allegedly, you know, assault and robbery, trying to rob the drug dealer or extort them. But they ended up getting their sentence reduced, I think, after like several years and several other trials, and taking it to federal Supreme Court, I think. They ended up getting it overturned, and it turns out that the individual that they shot was an undercover ATF agent that was a plant in their neighborhood that was actually there to make sure that drugs were continually flowing into the barrio. Look it up, because Frank Martinez was actually recruited by the ATF in Texas. He's an ex-Vietnam vet who, I don't know, he did some petty crime. And they recruited him in Texas to infiltrate the Texas Brown Berets, and he successfully infiltrated and caused chaos and disorder to where I believe the group ended up disbanding. Then he was brought to Los Angeles during the time of the Chicano, right after the Chicano moratorium. And he was one of the guys who claims, if you guys are familiar with the 1969 Whittier protest at the Whittier police station, he's the individual who allegedly started smashing cars and breaking windows in order for police to be able to come in and start throwing tear gas at all the Raza protesters, specifically the Brown Berets. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. No one? No one? Miggy? Anyone got any questions? I'm gonna end this right now in like 5 minutes, but I just give you guys a chance to see if anyone's got any questions. I just want to let you guys know right now, I didn't look at anything other than my little talking points right here. Everything I told you, somehow, after all the many fucking bowls and blunts and all that shit, can still manage to be stored in my brain. Somehow, some way. The powers that be have given me the ability to be able to maintain this shit so I can fucking expose these fucking snitch influencers. Because these so-called righteous, positive pushing social media prison influencers / snitch influencers are never going to do it. My kid's tripping. No, bro. I know. I got to go. I got my kid inside. My wife's going to come home right now. And I'm not making dinner. I think I'm going to go get some Vietnamese food. But anyone got any questions? Anyone enjoy how I was able to pull all these threads together? How I was able to kind of tie in all this stuff? I really wish I would have had my phone because I was going to read you guys some fucking serious shit. I have other letters. Believe me, Raymond Weddle Shy is not the only letter I got. I'm telling you, I got the letter from Alfonso Apache Alvarez that I want you guys to hear. It's gonna I kind of tell you guys about it because it kind of again disproves Mundo's fucking myth that there's no political activism against the Chicanos. And several months before Apache Alvarez was murdered, he wrote a letter. I think I mentioned it. And in the letter, he talks about how he was labeled by the prison system. You can give the questions, but put whatever ones you can think of. He was put in solitary confinement and labeled a revolutionary nationalist by San Quentin prison authorities. And that is because he was the leader of the San Quentin chapter of the Brown Berets, and that he was also found with literature of the Brown Berets and having a copy of the 10-point program of the Black Panthers. And again, he's considered the first MS Street homicide. And according to the media, he was labeled as a Chicano activist. He wasn't labeled as a Mexican mafia member. It was the unsolved killing of a local Chicano activist, not a prison gangster. Any questions, anyone? If not, I guess we can end this. And again, I apologize. I guess I'm towards the end of the month, and I think I might have gone over my data, and that's why we're having the buffing issues. This phone over here doesn't buffer because if it doesn't run off my data, it catches my Wi-Fi. My other one's my burner. No questions? Going once? Going twice? No one? Okay. Well, I guess with that said, guys, thank you very much for joining me. Damn, I didn't think I was going to run that long, but I did. It's a lot of information, I guess, for one person to say. But I appreciate you guys joining me. And I think I might do these lives when it comes to reaction on the other videos. Because I'm going to do another one. I'm definitely going to do one on Boxer Enriquez. Is his debriefing video real or fake? Okay? Because it's not real. And you can prove it by reading all his documentation when he paroled from prison. That everything he says in his fucking debriefing video is staged and fake. But yeah, YouTube Renegades, thank you for joining me. Again, I appreciate it. You guys are the best. I love you guys. You guys rock. All my Outlaw posse, all the True Seekers of America, thank you guys. Clinch fist salute. If you haven't had dinner yet, enjoy your dinner. and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And clinch fist salute y venceremos.